Hello, everyone, and welcome to this series called Build with Near. This entire series, it's a three-part series designed by me. My name is Nyana Lakshmi, and I work as one of the Near India ambassadors as a part of the Near India Guild. And I'm recently graduated, rather, as a Near certified developer, verified, and I'm excited to build this series with you. So this video that you're watching is the second video and the part 2 of the series. If you haven't watched the part 1, that is setting up and going through, rather reading a smart contract, I highly recommend to go through part 1 and then come to this part, that is part 2, where we'll be writing our own contract. So the contract language of our choice is assembly script. Near contracts can be written in either assembly script or Rust, and we have chosen to go ahead with assembly script. So what are we going to build today? If you can see the image over here, you see the image of a roulette on your left and the roulette board on your right on which the betting happens. We are going to build a very simple contract. So if you see the even or the odd, right? So the user can bet X amount of money either on the even or the odd. And the roulette machine spins and the ball randomly lands on one of the numbers, right? So what we are going to do is we are going to replicate the even odd betting game in the form of a small smart contract. So what are we going to write? We would be writing a contract that would represent betting scenarios in the game of roulette, right? One of the betting scenarios rather. So we would create a game. Create a game initially, which would have some near. For example, that is the casino, right? Which has already put in some money. The user will bet for some amount of money on the smart contract, and the user will choose whether they want to bet on odd or whether they want to bet on even. The system or our contract will randomly generate a number, and based on whether it's even or odd, the user wins or loses. And of course, winner gets all the money. So let's get started. I'm going to be sharing my screen, which will have all right. So for those who missed the previous session, what we did was we cloned one repo called learn near the starter assembly script, right? So you can just click on this, copy this, and then go to your terminal, do a git clone, copy the repo, and it will get cloned, right? So since I have already cloned the repo, you can see that I am already inside the starter assembly script. It already has one contract, which we will be overwriting with our own contract. So I'm going to open this entire folder in VS Code. All right. So inside VS Code, if you see inside the source directory, and there is a sample directory inside which there's a test directory and an assembly directory. If you go inside the assemblies directory and click on index.ts, this is your smart contract. There is already a default smart contract with couple of functions over here, right? Which is about sending a message, saving a message, and printing some information. This is the contract that we are going to overwrite. Now, I already have another contract that I had written earlier, right? Which is a similar game. So I'm going to copy this contract code as well and keep it with us. So, in case we do need any references, we can pick up from this contract, right? So let's get started with our contract. Okay, I'm going to leave the import as of now, right? And first, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a class, right? A class called roulette, right? This is the class that will hold all the necessary details of the game. So let us see. Okay, so let's say we have a player 1, right? And we are going to take the address of the player. So we are going to, of course, there's going to be only one player because the other player is going to be the system itself, that is us, right? So there's going to be a player, then there's going to be a guess. So maybe we can keep the guess as a U32 that is, or let's keep it as bool because it's going to be even or odd, right? So let's have a guess, and then initial amount, right? This will be the amount that would be sent by us, right? That is the contract initially will hold some amount which will be sent by deploying the contract. So this is like the casino is giving some amount, right? And then bet amount. This is the amount that is being sent by the user, right? So let us have a constructor where we are going to have this dot player is equal to, there is something called context which can have the account of the sender, right? So let's say context dot sender. This will store the player. So whenever a new game is created, right, we will say that or let us, yeah. So whoever is calling the new game, they will become the player, right? So this, and then this dot guess, let's just leave it at false for now. Yeah. So okay, I think this should be the default. Okay, so I don't think this should be the player because the player will not be calling the constructor. We will be, when we initialize the game with some amount of money, we will be calling the constructor. So let's keep the player, let's not initialize the player for now, and neither the bet amount. So what we are going to do here is the initial guess, of course, we can choose to have it or not have it. But the initial amount is required to be populated. So here we have the context that we can take in from the near SDK. So if you see the near SDK, we can take the context from there, which will have the attached deposit. So when this contract is being called, the constructor is being called, there is a deposit that is attached with it that will act as the initial deposit for the game. So the initial deposit plus the bet amount will together become the final winning amount, right? So let's say that this dot player, we just say like none, this dot bet amount for now, we'll call it Z. All right. So the U28 is actually another data type that is present in the near SDK, which can be used to define this can be used like a way sort of quantity. Like this can be used to take in the amount of near, because all of the cryptos that you see are cryptocurrencies rather, they have X amount of decimals. And because of the number of decimals associated with them, the normal U32 or 16 or 32-bit, 64-bit are not able to hold that. That's why there is a U128 data type that can hold the amount of near that is sent in as the deposit, right? So initially the bet amount is 0 and the player is, we have just put it as none, right? So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to define a persistent vector, right, which will hold all the games. So I'm going to call it games, then new persistent vector of roulette, right? And then I'm going to give a prefix as we saw in the previous video as well, that we need to give a prefix to uniquely identify this particular data structure. So spelling mistake. Let's see if there is a syntax error. 100% fine. And what we need to do is whenever we are creating a new class, if we want to export it outside of this file, we can add the export. And we also need to add the near bind gen in order to ensure serialization and deserialization. So you can see that it's a decorator used to make the classes serializable. All right. Sorry, I missed this. Okay. So now what we are going to do is we are going to define a function called create game, which will be created by us, right? And we are going to send in, let's say, what do we need? No, we don't need to send in anything. Let's call the constructor. Select, right? Now this, all right. So when we call this new roulette, the constructor of this class will be called, right? And it will take in the bet amount. It will set the player, the bet amount, the guess, as well as the initial amount, right? So, and now what we are going to do is we are going to take this persistent vector, right? Because we want to store all the games in this. And we are going to push this newly created game called roulette. There is one more thing that I want to do. That is, I want to have an enum called game state, which will help me understand what is the state of the game. So I'm going to have a created, a joined, that is when somebody joins a particular game, and then a game ended, right? So initially when we call the constructor, I'm also going to initialize a variable called game state, which is going to store the state of the game, right? So when we want to return the games that are available, that is number of games that have been created by the system, which are in created state, so that the users can join any of these games, right? So I'm going to say this dot game state is equal to game state dot created, right? So, all right, now the game is created, right? I'm going to export this. So we can use the export word if you want to call this function from any other file, right? So once the game is created, a user can join the game. But what do we need for the user to join the game? We need the user to give us a guess, right? So, all right, I suppose this should be Boolean. So, oh, there can be another interesting thing that we can do. That is, we can create a game ID for every game. So I'm just going to pick this random number generator, which we are going to be using again. So we can create a unique ID for the game. So you can see that the random number generator will generate anything between 1 and the max value of U32, right? And I need to import this RNG from Near SDK as well. Let me have an ID for the game. When we keep writing, we keep feeling like we need to add more and more information to the game, right? So the users will understand what is happening. So I'm going to add game ID is equal to, and here is a random number generator, which has generated a random number. So, all right. So what I can do actually here is in this create game, I can return a U32. What that would mean is I can return the game ID. So I'm going to roulette is my game ID. All right. So I'll return the ID of the created game. All right. So here, what we are going to do is we are going to we're going to let the user join a game. Now the user can join a game by giving the game ID of the game, which game does the user want to join. And of course, because the user can join a game which has higher stakes or lower stakes depending on the user's choice, right? Now the guess as well, right? What is the user betting on? And how do you think the let's see what we need to return later. How do you think now, we'll get the deposit from the user? If you remember this, right, the earlier, this context dot attach deposit, this is the same thing that we're going to use. So when the user is going to join a game, the user will be, the user will be able to send some near to this, which will act as the user's deposit. That is how much is the user betting for, right? So that we don't need to take as a parameter. Now, all right. Now, in order to in order to retrieve the game directly using the ID, we can also create a persistent map. All right. So this can have a U32, that is the user ID itself, and okay. So we need to here. So now that we have a persistent map, we may actually not really use a persistent vector. Let's see if we have the use case. So here we are going to set the value of this persistent map. So the key is going to be the roulette.game ID. So for this particular key, what is going to be the value? The roulette itself, right? So we have a U32, a roulette, okay? So let us just comment out the persistent vector. All right. So now what do we need from here? We have the game ID. So we need the game itself, right? So I'm going to say game is equal to, and I'm going to call the persistent vector dot get or get some. And I'm going to say, given this game ID, give me that game, right? Now I'm going to say that the game dot guess, right, is equal to the guess that has been given by the user, right? And the game dot bet amount is also something that we need to update, right? So now we are going to say context dot attach deposit. How much did the user send, right? Now that we have this, what we need to do is we need to again set the game in the game map, right? We need to update this. So what we are going to do is we are going to say set, and we are going to use the game ID key, comma, the updated game, right? Because we have changed some value. So again, we need to set the key, right? Sets the new value for the key, right? All right. So now we have joined the game. What next? Of course, the next thing is to end the game and declare the results, right? So let us see. We of course need the game ID, not to forget that. All right. Let's get the game as well. Game ID. All right. Now, what we are going to do is we are going to again take our random number generator, right, and generate a random number. Okay. Now here is an interesting thing, right? So we can either generate a random number between 1 to U32.max value, or we can go back to the roulette, right, and see what is the maximum number in the roulette. The maximum number in the roulette is 36. So why don't we try to generate a number between 1 and 36, right? So let's try this. All right. Okay, now, so we have our random number. Now our random number, or let's call it the winning number, right? So winning number percentage 2 equal to 1. That is, the winning number is odd, right? So let's have const var is equal to okay, let's try to check here. So the winning number is odd, right? So if the winning number is odd, then if the user, okay, let's keep the Boolean as 1 for odd and 0 for even, right? So if the user has guessed 1, right, then the user wins in this case, otherwise the system wins, right? Mm, should we also have a winner, right? Yeah, we should. So here the winner, let it be the context dot sender by default, right? That is us, I mean the game itself, right? So we need to check if the game dot guess is equal to true. Then the okay, so let's do this, right? If the game dot guess was false, then we change the winner, right? Otherwise, we let the winner be. Uh, oh, so we didn't set the player, right? When we create, when the player joined the game. So that also we need to do. Right? It will be context dot sender, whoever decided to join the game. Right? So now game dot winner would be game dot player as nothing. Right? So if the number that we generated is even, right? And if the guess is true, then the game dot winner will be the game dot player. In the other case, as we have already set the winner to be the contract itself, that should be fine. Right? So let's update the game map dot set the game ID and the latest game updates, right? Now, what we will also do in the end game is that we will transfer all of the money to the winner, right? That needs to be done. So how are we going to do that? Let us take the help of this previous contract, right? I'm just going to, yep. All right, I'm going to copy this. I will explain this code in just a bit. This login is not necessary. All right. So what we are going to do is we are going to here we are calling doing a cross contract call. So this is another contract called contract promise batch, right? Which is going to wrap the game winner in such a way that the game winner can become a beneficiary to whom we can send the money, right? Now, where do we get this? We will get this from the SDK, I suppose. Yes, so it's present in the SDK. So since we are not using the persistent vector, let us remove this, maybe make this. So you can make this as short as possible, right? To save your memory space for easy access as well. What we are going to do here is, okay, all right. So now the two beneficiary is the one to whom all the money will go, right? So the game winner, whoever has been set, will be sent all the money. Now, how much money do we need to send? We need to send the we need to send an addition of the game bet amount that was sent by the user plus the initial amount that was created for this particular game. So we add both of these and then we just want to return the winner. Now this transfer function will transfer the addition of these two, that is the total amount, to the beneficiary. The beneficiary is nothing but the winner whom we have created here, right? Now here we are just returning the game.winner. So here we need to ensure that we're able to return something. So we are going to be returning a string. All right. So the rest of the contract we can happily delete because we are not going to be using. All right, voila. So our contract is done here. Now in the next video, what we are going to do is we will be running this contract using the scripts that are present under the scripts folder. And then we will be seeing how to call the different functions and see the contract in action, right? And post along with that, we'll also learn to write some small tests for this particular contract. So yeah, thanks a ton for joining me today, folks, on this particular video. Hope you were also writing the contract with me and kind of understood the nuances of writing a smart contract in assembly script. And in the next video, we will see how to run this contract and how to call the different functionalities of this contract, right? So thank you once again for joining me. If you like this video, please don't forget to press the like button, hit the like button, and subscribe to my channel. Ciao.